Hello and welcome to Never Seen It, a podcast about movies we haven't seen yet. My name is Trent. I'm sitting here with my partner and wife, Betsy.
Hi there.
Today, we are going to go back to the theater. What?
There's
Twice
so
in 1 month.
many movies out right now.
Oh, it is a really hot summer when it comes to movies right now. And this is like, I don't know, the first time in, well, let's just say 3 years where it is just packed.
Churning them out.
Yeah.
It's because everything that got delayed is no longer delayed.
Yeah, and you're seeing that with a lot of different kinds of media. But we're talking about movies today. The one movie in particular is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Is that the name?
Yeah. First we went into the Spider-Verse. Now we're going across. We're not going under. We're not going over.
We're not going through.
Whatever preposition you want to do, the next one I'm sure will be different. Anyway, Across the Spider-Verse. Betsy, we've seen the first one of these movies.
Many times.
Many times. It's pretty damn awesome.
It is, and it's one of those movies, the first time you wanted to go see it, I was like, I have never heard of this.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is. Why did they make an animated Spider-Man movie? That sounds stupid and unnecessary.
Feature-length Spider-Man movie.
Yes, I was real confused.
Yeah, like, while there is an MCU thing,
Yes.
Tom Holland is killing it over here with the MCU thing, why is Sony Animation making a Spider-Man cartoon?
But then you took me, and it
Yeah.
blew me away. It was fucking incredible.
I had heard through the grapevine, through people that I follow, they said, guys, you have to go and see this movie. It is incredible. It looks amazing. And after I walked out, I said, yeah, you're right. This looks like a living comic book.
It is the wildest animation and so unique that I've never seen anything like it before.
Yeah.
They've done a few things that kind of look like this since, like the new animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that's coming out here in a couple of weeks. That has a similar vibe.
And I love the aesthetic because it is, like I said, it is like the comic book is coming alive.
It's
These
graffiti.
characters,
There's kind of an undertone of graffiti art.
right, these characters look like they should look, but they're stylized in a way that makes sense for this movie. Also,
But they move like it's claymation. It's so crazy.
well, it's like it's the animation of the characters is like half. I read this at one point. It's like a multiple of what the actual frame rate is of the screen. Like, all movies are displayed to you at 24 frames per second, and this is like a multiple of that. It's really strange.
It's sped up in a way to make them look choppy and weird.
Right.
But
again,
it looks cool.
But it's almost like you're flipping the pages
Yes.
through a comic book.
Yes.
Anyway, so this movie is a follow-up to the first one. We're not going to go into the first one here. We've seen it enough times, and I hope that if you're going to see the sequel, that you've seen the first one as well. What do you know about this next one?
So this picks up with the cutscene that the first one ended with. So the very first one ended with like a portal into the multiverse.
Yeah.
And which
Spider-Gwen.
Spider-Gwen. I was like,
Yeah.
what's she called? Spider-Gwen says you want to do something.
Yeah. Hey, Miles, what's going on?
So we're picking up where we left off there, but I think it has been a little bit of time. I think Miles has grown up a little bit, so maybe let's call it a year, because he's still in high school. I don't think he's out of the house, as it were.
Yeah.
And now we're getting him into the multiverse instead of the multiverse coming to him.
Right.
And it's all the Spider-Men. They're everywhere. There's so many of them.
And there were already a lot of them in the first one.
There were. So I'm assuming that a lot of them, if not all of them, will be back in this one. And then we're also adding a lot more. At the end credit scene of the first one, there was another one that we hadn't been introduced to.
Sure.
And it was Oscar Isaac. And
Right.
he plays a lot bigger part in this movie.
Yeah, and I'm just going to come out and say this. Neither Betsy nor I know much about comic books.
No.
If you haven't listened to us before, this is completely new to us. I know that there are, I don't know, a fucking infinite number of different Spider-Man. There's like fucking Spider-Man 2199 or like some way weird year where it's like set way in the Neo future. I think that's one of them. And I know based on the analytics of some of the trailers, there's even going to be offshoot Spider-Man like that came in from the Sony video game.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. But in context of this movie, I don't really know why these Spider-Man are relevant. I guess we're just going to have to find out.
Yeah, I don't know why they're gathering, why they're bringing him into the fold.
I don't know what the problem is because I understand the first one, there was a pretty clear message that the bad guy was trying to bring in his dead wife from a different universe, and by doing that, you brought in other Spider-Man, I guess.
But again, because I didn't know anything about the first one, I kind of don't really know anything about the second one.
Right.
It's probably going to blow me away just because that's what these movies do.
Well, and now we've been in this multiverse-ness in movies for, I don't know, for the past like 5 or 6 years. And I think Into the Spider-Verse was the first one, was it not?
I feel like that is true.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's all we're going to have to say about this one for now. We're going to go to the theater and see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. We'll be right back. Betsy, we made it across the Spider-Verse and back. What did you think of that whole journey?
So these are like the coolest animated movies that exist, right?
Of like all time.
Genuinely, there was a note in here on the trivia page that said there's 1,000 people who worked on this movie. And I can tell because they use like every fucking animation style you could think of in a single movie.
That's like MCU numbers right there.
It is astonishing to watch this movie. It is almost like too much. It's like sensory overload sometimes, especially when they get into the part where there's hundreds of different versions of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Where they all have their own animation style and their own look, and it's just incredible. These movies are just amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, I think this is like the most interesting looking movie. To say nothing about the fact that it's animation. It is just the most interesting looking movie that I think I've ever seen.
And I don't know if this one is matching or outpacing the first one because they're both just sensory overload with the graffiti style, with 2D and 3D and live action in this one. They even intersplice some live action. Everything has its different styles. So like there's a Da Vinci universe where it's kind of on brown paper with pencil.
Right.
There's a Lego universe. There's a 1950s comic strip universe. It's just bonkers.
It took the first movie and expanded on it in a way that I didn't think that they could. I knew that there's so many different kinds of Spider-Man that we have not yet been introduced to. A lot of them I had not even really heard of. Like, I knew about, like, Noir Spider-Man from the first movie. I did not know about Spider-Ham.
No, but you knew about Spider-Man 2099.
I did, and I got the number wrong in the intro, but who cares? But yeah, I knew about 2099, and I know he is a time-traveling Spider-Man. Now, in this case, he is a dimension-traveling Spider-Man, not just a time-traveling guy. But like what the overall thing was, I knew it was going to be multiverse stuff. I knew it was going to bring Gwen back. This is mainly a Gwen movie, by the way.
Yeah, it starts with her.
You get like 20 minutes of Gwen.
Yeah, the cold open is Gwen, and then there's a late title card.
Yeah. But yes, all that being said, like this movie is visually just overwhelming. And it's one of the reasons why we have watched the first one so many times is because you always see something new. I can't wait to have this in my own home so I can just frame by frame the whole thing to see what else I can see.
You basically have to because there's layers and layers of jokes. And even just in the background, like there was one time where they had this big billboard and it said soda. It's a generic brand.
Right.
So there's all these like extra crap in the background that has nothing to do with the plot. It's just a funny thing the animators threw in there.
Right. And in this case, there was also very much a promo for the new Spider-Man video game coming out later this year.
Which I didn't realize that's what I was looking at because it's also animating the game within the movie.
Right.
It's so complex how they made this. It's layering upon layering upon layering different styles. It's just insane. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. So let's just kind of go through this here. I mean, we could just gush about how this movie looks the entire way, but let's just kind of go through things so that we cover all the main beats. So we start off with kind of the same opening sequence like we had in the first movie, where even the company logos,
The title cards,
all that stuff got comic book treatments. I love that in all this stuff, because it introduces, it's what sold me on the first movie right away.
And there's so many of them that you almost don't even know how many you're looking at.
Right.
It might be 5, it might be 23.
Yeah, it could be like in the course of 5 frames, you might see 3 different logos.
Yeah.
But we start off the movie with Gwen doing the narration, much like all of the other characters got their own kind of introduction narration.
Let's do this one more time.
One more time. And Gwen gets her little thing. And yeah, we get kind of her backstory. We kind of knew that Peter Parker was a big part of her life, but we see what happened to him.
Yeah, there was a great sequence where we're just kind of going through time with her.
Yeah.
And she was best friends with Peter Parker. And they show her at the dinner table with like all of them like holding hands and praying. And it's just this mad sequence overlay. Like,
Yeah.
it's just one right after another.
It is a slideshow of all of the different looks that she's had over the years.
And it's Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year's.
Right.
And
But
family
like,
gatherings.
I'm mainly talking about her own style.
Lit too.
Gwen is probably the coolest character I think I've seen in any Marvel movie.
Just with the undercut and the pink hair.
Yeah. All of that stuff,
Piercings.
I can see why that character has been sold on so many ladies out there, where they love this character and they like to dress up as her.
And they give her more in this one, where she's like the cool drummer of this
She's
band.
a fucking punk rock chick. I love it. And she's in a band. She's a drummer of the band called the Mary Janes.
Of course she is.
It's perfect.
Also, have you considered, while you were watching this, the fact that that's Haley Steinfeld, and she has since now joined the
other
multiverse
the actual
in another
MCU,
capacity.
Right. Yes, I have.
But yeah, we get an introduction to her background where we find out that she was friends with Peter.
Yep.
And he wanted to be special like her, so he drank some sort of concoction that turned him into the lizard guy.
Right.
And of course, she stopped him, not knowing it was Peter, and he died.
Right.
And that's her tragic backstory.
In which we kind of knew that Peter died and that was her backstory, but we didn't know the context behind it.
We didn't know the when and the how.
Yeah, and the other part of that is that her dad, who was the chief of police or is or whatever, saw it happen and is accusing the Spider-Woman, in this case, of murder. Because the guy knew Peter and sat at his table and was best friends with his daughter.
Not realizing that his daughter is Spider-Woman.
Yeah, so I can see how that would be yet another wrinkle in this whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just the backstory to everything. The dad, the cop dad, gets a call on the radio saying, hey, there's a evil villain thing happening over at the Guggenheim.
Yep, the Vulture, who we know from the first Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland.
Yeah. He's there wrecking shop, and we don't really know anything else other than that. She shows up and webs all of the different cops to take care of it herself, of course, even though she's wanted for murder. And Vulture is in there just looking all weird because he doesn't belong in this universe yet. He's the hand-drawn version of whatever he is in his thing.
Yeah, and this is where this movie gets pretty cheeky, because they introduce elements from the first movie when there were a lot of, like, cracks in the universes and the multiple universes. Something happened that, like, little gaps were left where bad guys were getting kind of sucked in.
Right.
So this guy just was minding his own business, having a coffee.
And we know that through the first movie, anytime there is an entity of any kind in the wrong universe, they kind of glitch out.
And
that's
such
what
a
this
cool
guy's doing.
effect every time that happens, because
Yeah.
again, it's like layering so many kinds of animation on top of itself.
But it's also a clue as to when you know that somebody doesn't belong here, and we get a revelation of that later on.
Well, and I forgot about that element from the first movie. There's times in the first movie it happens before you realize what's happening.
Right.
Which we'll get to in a
We
little
will
bit.
get to that. There's some kind of mind-blowing things here that we'll get to later.
But of course, in this sequence, Gwen is nonplussed by the fact that there are multiple versions of people, and weird looking villains because she's already lived through this.
This is old news for Gwen.
She just says very matter of factly, let me guess, you were sitting there minding your own business and all of a sudden you got sucked into another universe.
Right.
Yeah, the style with him, she described it as a Da Vinci universe.
Yeah.
Where it's all on this like sepia toned paper, this old like ancient parchment.
Yeah.
And just these very thin ink and pencil drawings. So he is like 2-dimensional, but also 3-dimensional.
Yeah, he is fitting into this universe so well, even though he shouldn't.
It was very, very cool.
And one other thing that I wanted to point out before I forget. So we're going to talk a whole lot of how this movie looks. And the one through line through the entire thing is when they zoom all the way into characters or backgrounds or whatever else, you can see how these images would be printed onto comic book paper, down to the ink spots. So like on the outlines of people, you can see kind of like pixels, but it's not pixels. It is little dots of ink that it would look like when you got really close to a comic book.
Well, in some of these, you can see like the lines, because when people are drawing, they draw like circles and squares and different body shapes, and then overlay the people over top. And there are people in this movie where they don't quite erase all of those lines. So you're still seeing the basic shapes underneath.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what the Spot looks like when we meet him later.
Yes.
Because you can see like on his shoulders, you can see like where his arms were. Yeah.
He's just shapes.
Yeah, it's kind of like an early version of the drawing of him, but he doesn't exist. And I have no idea whether or not that character is from the comics. I assume he is. But again, we'll get to that later.
So yeah, they're fighting. She's fighting the Vulture. And then this other version of Spider-Man comes in. He has to call for backup. And it's a pregnant spider lady.
Yeah.
And she's just like, we don't know what the sex is. We're waiting. My husband's old-fashioned like that.
Right. And like this is the guy who was in the end of the first movie.
The end credits.
The 2099 guy. And I'm sure that people knew what the story relation is going to be from that little clip alone.
That teaser.
Yeah, and again, I knew that his look was very familiar to me based on other things that I've seen, but again, I had no idea until now.
But yeah, the two of them join forces with her. Mm-hmm. They take out this bad guy, but at the end of the sequence, she's about to get caught by her dad, and since it's just him, she ends up revealing herself. And she takes off her mask, and he's going to arrest her. So instead of letting herself be, in fact, betrayed by her own father, they stop him and they take her along. Mm-hmm. And they explain, we're an elite group. We're going to go across the multiverses, etc.
They're the canon police.
Yeah.
Now
we're getting into that fucking Loki shit.
Kinda.
There's a lot of that.
Variants.
Variants and anomalies. They call them anomalies in this.
Right. So I think what they're really doing here is setting up what it's paid off later with her dad. Because her dad in this universe is supposed to stay the captain, because that's always what happens with whoever happens to be the captain of police in this universe.
When they get the rank of captain, they're doomed, basically.
Right. So later, when he changes his mind and he quits the Force, it's him changing his own canon.
Yeah.
So it proves that no matter what you're supposed to have happen, if somebody makes a different decision, that is changing the canon.
Yeah, the whole story that we find out later is that there's all these different Spider-Men and they have similar things happen. There is a canon moment where somebody dies, something really tragic happens, and that is imprinted in every single version of Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse.
And with Miles, it was his uncle, who was a bad guy. He was the Prowler, and that was the thing that made him into what he became.
But we find out that if you disrupt that moment from happening, the entire universe they live in basically falls apart.
Yeah.
That's the long and short of it. Now, sometimes I feel like it can be saved, but most of the time it seems to destroy the universe that they're in. They didn't really explore that very much. But we come to find out a lot of pieces of information that are basically building to the sequel, and we only kind of start getting into in this movie.
Right, and I knew there was going to be another movie because, the first movie was so successful, and the buildup for this one has been so long. I'm sure they've been working on the third one for a long time, and it's probably going to come sooner rather than later.
But it seems like they spent a lot of time developing this,
Yeah.
even before the sequel was actually made, because there's a
Seems
lot
that
of
way.
things from the first one that didn't seem relevant at the time, and now are starting to seem very relevant.
I mean, you could say that about like The Matrix. The first Matrix movie was going to be a standalone thing. Then it was so successful, and guess what? They made 2 more immediately after that.
And then that one, they maybe had to retcon a little bit, but this one, it seems like, no, we know where
Some
we're going
of the
here.
things were planned.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then we get the what's been happening with Miles sequence.
Right.
And I was right. It's been a year and 4 months.
Right.
So he's had a growth spurt. He's been doing his thing. He's
They
the
even
friendly
kinda-
neighborhood Spider-Man.
They even kind of animate him like growing and then growing out a little bit because
Yeah.
now he's big and strong.
He's
Yeah.
taller and his clothes don't fit.
Yes.
And I hadn't really remembered that he's so young
Yeah.
in the first one. He's 14. Like in this movie, he's very proud of saying, I'm 15 years old. It's
I'm
like,
almost an adult.
Jesus Christ. I was thinking in my brain you were older, but no, that actually tracks a lot.
Yeah, he's just starting high school. And in this case, he is a sophomore thinking about college already.
Well, his parents are thinking he's more distracted, let's say.
It's true. He's getting a B+ in Spanish class, Betsy.
he's fucking Puerto Rican.
Even though he's half Puerto Rican, yeah.
And he's just like, I missed some classes. It's not my fault.
Right.
But we're quickly introduced at this portion to the Spot, which is voiced by Jason Schwartzman, which I had no idea, number one, that he was in this. And number two, I was like, what the fuck is this character? This
He fits,
Rorschach
though.
dude.
Yeah, he fits, though. I think his voice really fits well. I mean, shit, he could have been another Peter Parker.
Maybe. Well, I kind of thought that might be another weird version of Spider-Man at the beginning because
Right.
we're introduced to so many others. Why not?
But we also get the Spot's backstory because he was one of the scientists at the facility where they go and infiltrate, and that's where
The big
Kingpin
collider
is, and that's where Doc Ock is. But he's the guy that I think it was Peter, it might have been Miles, I don't remember, but threw the bagel at the scientist and hit him in the head.
It's that thing like, I was here the whole time too. Like in the last movie we went to in the theater, Fast X, we're sort of retconning it, but also we aren't. He was there
We
the
saw
whole
the guy's
time.
face anyway. We could watch the first movie again. I'm sure that'll be what he looks like.
I imagine he is. They gave him that identity because you remember the guy he threw a bagel.
Of course.
But he was in the room when they blew up the big collider and all of the universes were going back to where they were supposed to be.
Yeah, and he got affected and turned into this thing where he said he lost his face, he lost his family, and he wants to go after Spider-Man because he was the one who did everything to him.
He has to be his nemesis now.
Right.
But he's also never committed a crime in his life.
Well, yeah, he says, well, he's trying to rob the ATM. That I lost everything that I had, so I'm resorting to a life of crime, but I'm really bad at this.
Oh, it's awful. Like that whole sequence, he's just not good, and he doesn't even understand his own power, and he's not very powerful.
Not yet.
So he spends most of the time kicking himself in the head.
And by the end, he kicks himself in the ass.
So hard that he knocks himself into himself.
Right.
Which, of course, triggers. He figures out he can stick his head in these different holes in this
Right.
weird void he's in.
Right, he basically has the powers that the other Spider-Man have with their watches. He can peek into other universes, and we see a few of them.
This was great. How they really start pulling in from not only other Sony properties,
Yep.
but just other universes we haven't explored before. So we get, like I said, a comic book version, like from the 1940s or 50s, where it's
yeah.
all pixelated cartoon. We get a Lego universe, which this is amazing. I read that this sequence was animated by a 14-year-old.
Right, so
This kid just loves Legos, and he did a recreation of like the trailer in Lego, and the producer said, do a sequence.
which trailer do you know?
I don't know if it was for this
it
movie.
It might have been for the original Spider-Verse.
We're going to look that up after this because now I bet
Anyway,
it's on the internet.
Some kid recreated one of the trailers in Lego, and the producers saw it and they said, dude, you're awesome. You need to do something for this new movie. Isn't that so fucking cool?
That was awesome.
Anyway, yeah, there is a Lego version of Spider-Man, of course.
And there's also a very first live action moment in this movie.
Right.
Where I didn't know this because you and I haven't seen Venom, but apparently the woman who is in this scene is in the Venom movies.
Right. And of course, sitting there in the theater, seeing this moment, I mean, I kind of figured that this person, this character, is relevant to something, but because we haven't seen any of the other movies, it's kind of nothing to us.
It's been really funny to me how that is the property that they are crossing over into these other movies, because Venom shows up very briefly, spoiler alert. In Spider-Man No Way Home, there's like a brief moment where Venom shows up.
Yeah.
And I, at the time, was like, what? But apparently there's also a crossover in Venom into the MCU, but we haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Right.
But they keep revisiting Venom in these other properties. And maybe that's just a Sony thing. Maybe it's because that's the one that's worth watching because they're weirdly fun. Like, I've heard a lot of people who seem to really like Venom.
Yeah, and like, I think we will cover Venom eventually. We do have planned a non-MCU Marvel movie series.
Because there's lots of them.
And that movie is on it. So we will eventually watch Venom. But you're right. I think Venom as a character is actually very well liked in the comic book universe, but because Sony owns it and Marvel, the MCU people, didn't really want to use Venom yet, they kind of left it, okay, Sony, when you make your own movies, you can do whatever you want with Venom. We don't need them.
But it's this weird, like, crossover thing happening. And it happens a couple of times in this movie where they're sort of reaching out tendrils into the MCU.
Yeah, it's
like a little abstractly, and it's usually the stuff that's Spider-Man related, but
it has to be Spider-Man related. So, well, as long as we're talking about it, when they go to HQ and all the Spider-Men are kind of walking through this corridor and all these people are like, there's a Doc Ock and there's one of these
Rhino
villains.
And
all these guys are different variants from different universes.
I like that you just called him a variant.
Sure.
Again,
that's
Loki.
How they are to me.
It's Loki shit.
But we come across one with Donald Glover.
Yep, they say we have our own Prowler.
Right. He is the Prowler from whatever universe he comes from. And Betsy had to find this out via the trivia stuff. Think about the first Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland. Donald Glover is a dude who is, I guess, a bad guy, or he calls him a robber.
I don't really remember.
I don't remember what his whole deal is, but in some kind of universe, Donald Glover became Prowler.
And in Spider-Man, he is credited as Aaron Davis, which is the name of Miles' uncle. So he is actually credited as the same guy, meaning that this version is probably still Aaron Davis.
Just like when we were going through all the Gwen stuff at the beginning of the movie, the bully who was picking on Peter is called Ned.
Yep.
And of course, Ned is the friend of Peter in the Tom Holland movies. So they're all together, Betsy.
Well, and it's just great that they keep making Spider-Man relevant to Donald Glover. Before they ever made Into the Spider-Verse, there was this group of people online that were like, we need a black Spider-Man and it needs to be Donald Glover, and here's 100 reasons why. And he hasn't done it, but he has now been in 2 different versions of a Spider-Man movie.
That's right.
It's wild.
I mean, I don't really know if he's a fan or anything like that.
Oh, he's like a dorky Uber fan as far as I understand it.
So, I mean, I would take anything with Donald Glover at this point. So, whatever.
Keep them coming,
I'm
guys.
glad we got what we got.
But another, moment where there's this live action character in a cartoon universe.
And I think that fit better than the other live action thing with the Spot guy just showing up and being in front of that lady.
Well, now that we're back there.
Yes.
Yeah, he basically gets captured by Peter, but then he escapes. And we don't know what he's up to. And what we find out he's up to is he is trying to create a machine, like a mini collider, so that he can get himself to a different universe, because he figures out what his spots can do, and he needs to be more powerful. I don't know exactly how or why, they don't really explain it. He runs out of spots.
Yeah, he's traveling through all these different universes to find other colliders. He's finding different events where there is another super collider like the first one, and every time he touches one, he gets more powerful. And I don't know why he loses all of his holes. They talk about holes a whole lot.
It's
They
like
even make a joke about
it's like
it.
Ant-Man. How many holes do you have?
Yeah. But once he touches enough of these events, he gets more powerful. I mean, clearly he does.
Well, he has to find a universe that has the collider, and he doesn't know which one it is, which is why I think he's bouncing from place to place.
I think he's finding multiple of them, which is why he keeps getting more and more powerful.
Maybe.
And by the last one,
Oh, he's leveling up. Is that what you're
that's
telling
right.
me?
That's right. He says it himself. But he gets to Mumbattan. I don't even know if that's how you say it.
Mumbattan.
Mumbattan?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because it's Mumbai
It's
and Manhattan.
Mumbai and Manhattan.
Yeah.
This is a universe where all of India is housed within Manhattan.
They weren't really clear if this is in India or if it's Manhattan, but it's India. I don't really know.
I don't know.
It is both things.
I don't know, but it's an interesting thing. And I don't know the actor's name, but once we get here, it's the guy from Deadpool that is named Darpender.
His
It's
taxi driver.
His taxi driver who is just following him around everywhere, and it's his buddy. And yeah, yet another MCU thing.
He is great in this movie because they're like, oh, he's only been doing this for 6 months, but I wake up and I barely have to do anything. I have a great head of hair.
No, just coconut oil and good genetics. Yeah.
But that's where he ultimately ends up because that's where the super collider is.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, Gwen has joined forces with this gang and she is sent to Miles's world because that is where the spot is.
Right, this gang of Spider-Man who are going around trying to fix the multiverse stuff, they get word that, okay, this guy comes from Miles' universe. Gwen is sent there, but Gwen is not supposed to meet up with Miles.
But she can't resist.
She can't resist because, hey, they're friends and they don't have a lot of friends.
And she's right there. So why not?
Yeah. But they have, I really like how they're allowing these two people to be friends. It's a guy and a girl. It doesn't have to be romantic, even though he might want it because you see the scene of them kind of sitting on this building and he's like extending his hand out.
Like, get it closer.
Even though Gwen says it doesn't work out well for them.
I feel like they are definitely mutually friends.
Yes.
He clearly wants it to be more. I feel like she maybe also wants it to be more.
I think so, but
because she's resisting
because
it.
she's been to so many different universes where Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker got together,
They don't
it
work
always
out.
ends up not being good. So in this case, it's Miles, it's not Peter, so maybe it's meant to be. Who knows?
So in this scene, I actually liked one little touch, and I don't know if you noticed this or maybe I was imagining it.
Okay.
But they're up on the top of this building and they end up sitting upside down.
Yep.
And you know that thing when you are upside down, your face kind of everything goes up because your eyebrows kind of go up, all the muscles and
Yeah.
everything in your head moves.
Right.
And it's a minor change, but I feel like they were actually doing that in the animation.
I feel like you're right. Well, she also had her hair pulled back.
But upside down, it's not going to be as tight. And it wasn't like she
Right.
had a tight ponytail that
No,
would
no,
be
no.
like pulling her whole face.
It does do that when you do it really tight, but I think you're right.
Where it's just this minor thing where if you're looking at how her eyebrows sit and how her lips look and her nose, it just looks like you took into account the gravity that happens to your face when you are
Yes.
upside down.
And speaking
It's
of
details like that that's
Yeah.
just insane.
And speaking of that scene, there was one little moment here, and I need to see it again, but Miles is like picking something off of his suit, and he's throwing it. Much like if you get a little piece of fuzz on you, you just kind of pick at it and throw it away. Does that piece of fuzz go up when he throws it away?
I would assume it does.
I need to see it again.
But I just thought he was kind of pulling at his suit and absentmindly like, this is a
No,
part of me.
I could see him throwing something, kind of tossing it.
I missed that entire. I think I was so distracted by the face.
Yes. Yeah. But you know what? Also, anytime there is a moment in a movie like this, my head automatically kind of tilts itself while I'm watching it because I know that they're upside down, so I want to be upside down too. It's just a subconscious thing. I could not help it.
You need to line up with them even though the camera has lined up for you.
I know. Maybe I'm just looking at the background and I want to line up with the background or something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But yeah, there's a lot of things in here where she is doing reconnaissance.
Yeah.
And then they have a big party for his dad because he's about to get the rank of captain, which,
Yep.
as we aforementioned, is going to be
spells
ultimately
doom.
a bad thing. And he's in trouble with his parents because he keeps disappearing and he's late and he's been lying to them for a year.
Yep.
And he's afraid to tell them and they don't really know what's going on with him. So they're having all of this mistrust. He's grounded for a month. No, 2 months. No, 4 months. But ultimately, Mom has this moment where she says, you know, you're not my little boy anymore, and I'm going to try to respect that.
Right.
So go be with your friend. She seems like a nice girl.
Right.
But not before, like, doing the mom thing of completely embarrassing him in front of the first girl they've ever seen him with.
Right. Yeah, and
What is that urge? That's a terrible urge that should be squashed.
Well, and of course, it's one more person who is going to come into your child's life and take them away from you. Not necessarily permanently, but it is one more outlet for them that is not you.
I get it, but ultimately it's their own life, they're their own person, and you have to let go. And that's the thing his parents learn throughout this movie.
Well, and they even give them like their own learning moments, like when at the beginning of the movie where Miles is talking to his dad as Spider-Man, he's doing the let him spread his wings and he puts his arms out and the dad does the same thing later on.
He actually takes his own son's advice. He just doesn't know he's doing it.
Right. But that was a nice scene with the parents and him, or I guess with the mother and him, where she says, you can tell me anything. I do not care. I'm not going to love you any less. Just, you can say anything to me. And he can't do it. He can't do it. Because I think Gwen imparted on him, you know what, buddy? It's not going to help.
It's not all cracked up to be.
It's really not. You should not tell your parents. You should not tell anybody, because the more people know, the more there's going to be a target on their back. And that is a theme throughout all of the Spider-Man movies.
Well, what is the phrase, Trent? With great power.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The more people that know who you are, the more people
you put in danger.
Yeah.
Definitely. But we get back to the spot and we find out what Gwen is really doing in this universe. And there's this funny little sequence where Miles is following her, but he's invisible. And the two of them are watching the instant replay of what the Spot was up to in this room because she's had a reconnaissance camera on him the whole time.
Yep.
And they just keep saying, shoot, shoot, shoot.
Because it's a PG movie.
And she's in trouble and she knows it.
Yeah.
All she had to do was stand there and pay attention, and she couldn't resist seeing her friend.
Yeah.
Because she sets it up in the beginning. She's lonely. She hasn't found her group. She hasn't found her band. She hasn't found her friends.
And I'll tell you this, Betsy, that whole sequence of her just being sad and like being lonely, and the scene of her and her dad and they hug. He says, "Are you too punk rock to give your old man?" And you know what's going to happen next. And then even in the scene, there's like an explosion of like pink and red and just love, the aura around them. You just notice that?
Near the end of the movie?
No, at the beginning. In the Gwen sequence at the beginning, they hug and there's just like a flash of color as they embrace.
Every scene with her and her dad is really unique to the rest of the movie.
It's almost like a watercolor.
Yeah, and
universe.
they have the two of them in the middle of the frame, and the background is really abstract. And they're the only two characters that get this treatment the whole movie. It's always when she's talking to her dad.
Yeah.
And it gets like really, like you said, watercolor, sometimes really dark. Like when she's telling him that she's Spider-Woman, behind her, it's actually like the outline of her spider eyes at one point.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, they're getting like really big and close to her as she's really, open-eyed and vulnerable.
Yeah.
And then at the end, like you said, at the beginning when he hugs her, that happens. At the end, it happens again where it's like shapes and abstract. It's very unique to them in particular, but it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is where Miles follows her into the portal, and he immediately starts glitching because he's not supposed to be there as he's going through this tube. And they get into the next universe that the Spot is going to go to, which is the Mumbai universe. We get the whole sequence with them. They introduce a couple more Spider-Man who are also here, I guess as helpers.
So yeah, we get the introduction to Hobie. Everybody keeps talking about Hobie throughout this movie.
Right.
And he is a British punk rock Spider-Man. He's Spider-Punk.
Yeah, he's Spider-Punk.
And it's Daniel Kaluuya. I had to look up who that was because I was like, I know this fucking voice and it's driving me insane.
Yeah, Daniel Kaluuya, who's the main actor in Get Out, amongst a whole lot of other movies lately.
And another Marvel movie. He's in Black Panther.
That's right. He's also in Black Panther.
There's a lot of crossover actors in this.
Yes. But this is where the Spot gets the other collider and things go wrong, and they say, okay, you know what? Let's go to headquarters. We need to consult with Miguel, the 2099 Spider-Man.
Before we get to that, when the Spot actually achieves his goal and he goes into the collider,
Yeah.
and there is this montage where basically all of the spider people are kind of merging with the Spot, where
Yeah.
Miles is getting a flash of the past, the present, and the future kind of moment.
Okay.
And again, it's different styles. Once that passes, the Spot is now black and his swirls are white, so he's kind of opposite. But this animation was so cool. Like, I just keep saying that phrase. This is such a visual movie, and I
Yeah.
sound like an idiot because I don't have a larger vocabulary
That's the
to
thing.
describe
It looks fucking cool.
It does. But the way the Spot looks, where he's almost, again, hand-drawn. He looks kind of like a sketch. He's got little pops of color. He's two-dimensional versus three-dimensional. His character is very 2D in this movie. And then he just sort of disappears. He just goes away. And he's like, I'm going to see you later, you know, Mr. Bond, or that kind of a moment where he's done what he needs to do. And he tells Miles, that little vision you had, that's our future.
Right.
And we assume that it's the sequence we see right afterwards where he disrupts the canon, but we don't know that that's what he's doing. He just saves the day and he's okay. We get a clue because Gwen has one of those multiverse jumping watches and it
Right.
says canon event imminent or something of that nature.
Right. And we see this occasion where Miles is going to help save a couple of characters from this universe, and he's not supposed to.
And when we get back to headquarters, that's basically what we learn from Miguel, the brooding future vampire Spider-Man.
Yeah, I guess so.
There's some more to unpack there that I don't fully understand about Miguel. I hope they have time to get to it. I hope they do a
deeper dive.
Let's do this one more time. I want one of those, but for Miguel.
Yeah.
And the Spot had said it, but he confirms it. The spider that was in Miles's universe that bit him and turned him into Spider-Man.
It's all the flashbacks that we get to that first movie where the number 42 is on the spider, but that spider was not supposed to be in Miles's universe.
So he got bit and he wasn't supposed to. The spider wasn't supposed to be there.
Yep.
Miles wasn't supposed to be Spider-Man. And there was another one of those trivia things where in the first Spider-Man, the spider was glitching out.
Yes.
And I never considered that at the time we were watching the first movie.
And what I figured when we were watching it, it was just, hey, this is a weird radioactive weird spider, and this is like the power that is going to be imbued into Miles when he gets bit, which is the thing that he gets. He starts glitching later on. But it doesn't all come together until this movie, where this spider is not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be in Universe 42.
And there was someone else in Universe 42 who was supposed to become Spider-Man.
Right.
And it didn't happen. So Miguel is trying to contain Miles because, as he refers to him, he's an anomaly. He's the original anomaly.
Yep.
You are not supposed to be Spider-Man because that spider shouldn't have been there. You need to hang out here and let your dad die because that is a canon event that is supposed to happen.
Right.
And, you know, there's the Spider-Man that we met in the first movie. The one that's here is the Jake Johnson version of Peter Parker. And then we get introduced to a Spider-Cat, a Spider-Wolf, a Spider-Cowboy Outlaw.
A fucking spider T-Rex.
There's a Spider T-Rex. There's so many Spider-Men here. And I didn't even... You can almost not focus. There's so many because you're trying to look at all of them.
All of that stuff we're going to have to revisit eventually and just see all of it.
I'm sure there is a comprehensive list that someone has already compiled that we can
sure.
reference online.
And they showed a lot of this stuff in the trailers. Like, we knew we were going to go to a place where there's a fuckload of Spider-Man.
Obviously.
But we also knew that there was going to be the joke of all the Spider-Men pointing at each other as he makes the announcement, you need to go and arrest Spider-Man. You're Spider-Man. You're Spider-Man. Yeah. And then they say, actually, no, go get Miles Morales. Because there are no other Miles Moraleses in this whole headquarters.
There isn't another Miles Morales Spider-Man.
Right.
That's crazy. I hadn't really thought about that little piece of information.
And as long as we're talking about that whole thing, I wonder if the existence of a Miles Morales Spider-Man, a black boy, if that is not the crux of what they're talking about here, where there was, I'm sure, a big backlash to the fact that there was a black Spider-Man.
You mean like in the comics?
No, in real life.
Okay.
If people who see the fact that there is now a black Spider-Man push back on it, saying, no, Peter Parker is always going to be the Spider-Man that I know, God damn it. That kind of an attitude. I wonder if that is what they're trying to flesh out here.
Where we are literally contextualizing a metaphor for the reaction people had.
Right, like there should not be a black Spider-Man. There should not be Miles Morales as Spider-Man. But you know what? In my opinion, Miles Morales is a much better Spider-Man character than all of the other white boys out there.
He has got a lot more interesting background. And so far, his dad hasn't died. He hasn't had the trauma.
Right.
It was his uncle who passed away.
Exactly. And he had his defining moment, his canon moment.
Or so we thought.
I mean, now that they're introducing all this other thing, and we know about Universe 42, where the Miles Morales there becomes the Prowler, and there is no Spider-Man in this universe, so it's kind of fucked up.
I also find it funny that it's the number 42 because fans of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy see the number 42 and it means something very different.
There's like a visual tick anytime you say 42 to a bunch of fucking nerds.
It's true, though. If there are people who have never seen or don't know anything about that series, it's just Universe 42, who cares?
Right.
But I am drawing so much into that because of the kind of movie we are watching and the implications therein.
You can't say 42 amongst a bunch of nerds and not have a reaction.
Exactly. So he's in this place. We find out the whole problem. We find out what's going to happen to his dad. Yeah. And again, we take a lot of shots of here's the web of the multiple universes.
Yep.
And Miguel gives it some complicated long name about arachnids. And Miles is the one who calls it the Spider-Verse. And Miguel says it's stupid. But then his name is equally stupid.
Yes, it's also kind of stupid.
And in this, we get all these different animations. Like there's an anime Spider-Man. And they also throw in Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
Right, because
we're in Sony.
We're showing all of the different defining moments for a bunch of the different Spider-Mans.
The Uncle's Ben.
And we see, the Uncle Ben dying in the Andrew Garfield series and in the Tobey Maguire series. And during the escape thing, we're also introduced to the fact that all of the other Spider-Man people have talked to Miguel. They've talked about the fact that Miles needs to have this canon event with his dad happen.
But they also know that Miles isn't supposed to be Spider-Man, which is why he can't join their little gang.
That's the big thing. So that's why Miles is saying, you know what, I'm out of here. Fuck you guys. You don't trust me.
I thought we were friends.
Right.
That kind of betrayal.
He's saying goodbye.
Yeah, because he has to, and he has to do something to save his dad.
Right.
And they have a machine called the Go Home Machine.
Sure.
You know, you want to talk about a stupid name that we could have made more complicated.
Yeah.
But they give it away here. There's this moment where they say it analyzes the DNA of the individual and sends them back to the universe they're supposed to belong in.
And because the 42 Spider changes his DNA, hey, guess what? This is where he gets sent home to. And he thinks he's home because he goes to his own home.
And his family is there.
Right, his mother is there, and he's going to make this big revelation to say, hey, I'm Spider-Man, but Spider-Man doesn't exist in this universe.
And this is a great edited sequence because Gwen has been kicked out of the Spider group, but she finds a way to get back because Hobie Spider-Punk has given her a pass.
Sure.
He's got bootleg software, so she goes... And we think she is in his universe with Miles outside his window. And we're getting this scene where she's by his window, the other Spider-Woman is on the street, but it's not the same universe.
Right.
Because, like we said, his DNA is supposed to be in that universe. That spider was supposed to bite that Miles Morales. And there's actually, it says, in the real universe, in his world... His mom has brown eyes, and in this one, his mom has green eyes.
Oh, shit.
So if you were paying attention, you might go,
not.
That's kind of weird. So when he tells her, he, works up all his courage and he
Right.
unzips his coat and he says, I'm Spider-Man. She's just like, what? What's a Spider-Man?
Right.
Who's that? I don't understand. Because like you said, he doesn't exist in this universe because that spider got taken out of the universe and it completely changed the story. So the city is a shithole.
Yeah.
It's like on fire and his uncle is alive and his dad is dead.
Yeah.
But not only that, Miles is the Prowler.
Right.
So there's 2 Miles now. And in Gwen's world, she talks to his parents
Right.
and is like, I'm going to fix this. He's a good guy. He loves you so much.
Right.
I'm going to make this right.
Right.
And this is basically at this point the end of the movie. Miles is in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what's going to happen there. And then Gwen gathers all her renegade
Right.
spider people.
Right. Gwen gathers together all of the old friends, which, by the way, you saw the Nicolas Cage character,
Yep.
the noir Spider-Man is there, the anime Spider-Man is there. We didn't say Spider-Ham.
I think Spider-Ham was maybe there.
I did not see him.
There were at least 3 of her old gang, but maybe it was just the Jake Johnson Spider-Man I was
think it
looking
was
at.
just him. Yeah.
So a few of them are there.
Plus the ones that he met at HQ.
Yes, in this movie, they join forces.
Yes.
And of course, this movie ends with a cliffhanger, which
Yeah.
I had heard this was going to end in a cliffhanger, and it makes sense
Yep.
because we had not gotten any conclusion about the Spot storyline.
Yep.
We have not really gotten a great super villain thing. This honestly isn't about the super villain. It's about Spider-Man and how he isn't supposed to be who and where he is.
Right.
And I knew there was going to be a sequel. So
Yeah. We also didn't know the context behind, okay, how are they setting up the 3rd movie? Well, it's really just a continuation of this story, which is, again, going back to the whole Matrix thing. 3 is an extension of 2, and 1 is the setup of the entire thing.
And like a good sequel, this has the dark, upsetting sort
Yeah.
of ending.
Yeah.
And we didn't get a mid-credits or an end-credits sequence. All it says is Spider-Man will be back, or Miles Morales will be back in Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Beyond. What is beyond the universe, Betsy? I don't know what that means.
I guess we'll find out in the 3rd one.
Do you know when the final one's supposed to come out?
Is
I think
it
they
next
probably
year?
said.
I feel like it's next year.
Should be.
Well, considering they pushed this one back a couple times and they literally finished production 2 weeks before this got released, this was a tight turnaround. But I imagine that they were kind of working on the 2nd sequel simultaneously.
Sure.
Or at least some of the teams. Because, like we said, 1,000 people
Well, it
worked
could
on this
be-
movie.
It could also be finalizing the story bits of everything that you have to include in this one to set up whatever's going to be in number 3. But what do I know? I'm not in movie production. But Betsy, what did you still have left to talk about here?
Just a couple of little jokes and things. I like that when the Spot is introduced, he's calling it an ATM machine, and Miles points out the redundancy because the M in ATM stands for machine. And then when they get to Mumbattan, he calls tea chai tea, and the other Spider-Man starts screaming at him, that means tea. Chai means tea. It's like saying TT. So they use that same joke twice. The Jake Johnson Spider-Man has a daughter now.
Yeah, we haven't talked about the baby.
And it's a spider baby.
Of course.
He has a spider baby. She is crawling and he gave her a web slinger.
Right?
And her name is Mayday. So not only has he simultaneously named her after his Aunt May, but her name is Mayday, which is just like a punk kind of a name to give a baby.
Yeah, it is.
And also just the fact that the soundtrack in this movie is really, really good.
I loved the Gwen intro of all the like, she's a drummer, so there's going to be a lot of rock music in that.
There's a theme in the first one of kind of hip hop because
Yeah.
that's the music that Miles listens to.
Yep.
And in this one, because it's more of a Gwen movie, it's more rock and punk music.
Yeah.
So it's just this great thing. And I just, again, keep saying the whole vibe of this series, it feels so effortlessly cool. There are movies we have watched where it feels like they're trying so hard to be cool.
Yeah, they're trying to thrust a style onto it rather than just letting it be what it is.
And it's awkward and awful, and you want to slap whoever's idea it was to
can
try
be.
to make it cool.
It can be, yeah.
This one, I don't know that they're even trying. It just is, because the soundtrack works, the style works. It's just this whole vibe of this movie.
It's coherent.
It is coherent, and if they weren't going for it, that's usually how cool comes about. You're not
Sure.
actually trying. It just happens.
Right. But, all right, I didn't really have anything else to say. I really enjoyed this one, probably as much as the first one. Like, again, I just want to watch it again, not necessarily to get the story again, but to just look at it.
This is the one that bears repeating, where you
All of them are.
you get something out of it every single time that you never noticed before.
Same thing with the first one.
Because it's so layered. There's so much going on. There's so many versions of Spider-Man. There's so many jokes that I'm sure we didn't catch because they're just sight gags in the background.
I don't think there were as many this time, but then again, we've only seen it once.
In the first one, there certainly have been things
There's
we've
a ton.
noticed.
There's a ton in the first one. All right. Yeah, that's all I got, Betsy. So if you out there would like to tell us your thoughts about this here movie or any of the MCU movies, Spider-Man movies, or any movie whatsoever, email us at neverseenitpod@gmail.com. We got one such email about a different MCU movie from Stephanie from when we watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
So the official MCU, not the Sony MCU.
Not the Sonyverse. Yes. She says, I loved this movie, I loved this series, and I'm so sad there will not be another, but I assume some of the characters will pop up in other movies. We brought our daughter because she loves these movies so much, mostly Groot, Drax, and Rocket. Unfortunately, I selected the Dolby Theater, and it was so fucking loud. Fucking is in all caps. And the whole time it even bothered my husband. After about 20 minutes of her holding her hands over her ears, she crawled onto my lap and I put my hands over her ears. Then she slept until the last 20 minutes. She was so happy to see the characters and danced and danced. I was able to adjust to the loudness and enjoy the movie though. Poor baby Rocket. When Nebula called Drax a dad, I cried and cried. So true and so sweet. If you have kids, that whole recognizing your parents in yourself just becomes exponential. Yeah, we were talking about how the fact that, I very much look and kind of act like my dad sometimes.
You pick up their mannerisms.
It's really weird to notice. But again, Stephanie's talking about her own daughter. I'm sure she sees a lot of herself in her daughter. And that's probably really freaky.
When you have another human being with your face.
Yeah, and it's growing and it's changing into you. Think about that.
Freaky.
Fuck.
Genetics are weird.
Yeah. She says, I felt like this was a beautiful end to the series, and I think it fits with the other two without being repetitive. The only thing I didn't like was that all the little kids were in blonde Sia wigs. Weird choice. Of course, Sia being that musical artist that always has that very white kind of bob wig.
Or half and half.
Right.
Sometimes it's a half and half.
Sometimes it's black and white.
Yep.
Yeah. She says, my husband was not a fan of how they changed Adam Warlock from the comics. I thought it was funny, and I didn't mind at all. And yeah, I don't really know anything from the comics, so I can't be disappointed in something I don't know.
It's like any time we watch an adaptation of a comic book, something is going to be different.
Yeah.
But you and I haven't read them, so we don't give two shits.
It's an interpretation.
Yeah.
That's all you can really ask for. She says, I love Mantis and Drax. They make me happy. The comedy in this movie is wonderful. The, quote, fuck was unnecessary. It was a funny scene, but there were better places for it. Yeah, we talked about the fact that this was the first MCU movie to actually use their fuck. All the other ones are PG-13. They are allowed to have one.
But they haven't done it.
They haven't done it yet until now. And yes, I agree. Kind of wasted. But if you're going to do it anywhere, do it there. That's just kind of brushed off.
And again, I wish I hadn't known it was coming.
Speaking of knowing it was coming, she says, I love Firefly. I did not know Nathan Fillion was going to be in the movie. It was a pleasant surprise, but I felt like he was underutilized.
Yeah, in that movie, he could have done a lot more.
But then you might want him to stay and be more of a thing.
It's called a cameo for a reason.
It's true. She says, this was definitely the most graphic movie my daughter has seen, and I am so glad I did not give that it did not give her nightmares. Yeah, it was kind of gory. Oh, she says, I had a Zune. I loved how chunky and sturdy it was. I love the evolution of the music between Volume 1 and Volume 3, especially the 90s music.
Great addition to that series.
The Zune?
Well, just the music in general, yes. The Zune allowed the soundtrack to expand.
That's right. We talked about the fact that our exes had a Zune, right? My ex had a Zune, and completely separate, your ex had a Zune.
Yep, but you and I are iTunes, iPod people.
Yeah, I only had one iPod. It was the one that didn't have the click wheel. It was the one with like the touch wheel.
I had the touch wheel.
Yeah, a lot of mileage out of that thing. Back to the email. I can't wait to watch this one again. We have been very busy, and the husband has been going to bed earlier than the daughter, so he can be at work at 5 a.m. So we have not been watching much. My daughter and I have been watching Barbie movies, which are not as bad as you would think, and rewatching the Frozen movies. She just loves the music and singing. Love you guys. From Superfan Stephanie, the one and only.
Thank you as always, Stephanie.
Thank you again. Yeah, the way the MCU is feeling right now, I'm really hoping that, they just delayed a bunch of stuff because, I'm sure it's related to the writer's strike going on right now.
Could be.
So maybe they were already having a really hard time with the movie Blade. Like they had to get a new director, and that movie was just kind of cursed from the beginning. So I'm hoping that they're going to take this opportunity to really iron things out and reconsider the direction that the MCU is going, because as of right now, it's not going in a great direction.
It's not really going anywhere.
Right.
You complained about that in the last episode where we talked about Guardians. You just don't know where it's taking us yet.
I continue to complain because it's just, I don't get it.
It's just movies for movies' sake at this point.
Right, and that's all well and fine, but don't put them out in the MCU, because the MCU has to be leading up to something.
One would hope.
Yeah. But anyway, you can listen to that conversation in those other episodes. We're not going to rehash it here. But if you would like to talk to us about the MCU, Guardians movies, Spider-Man movies, all the stuff I already said, email us, neverseenitpod@gmail.com. Go to the episode description. You'll see links to all of our social media pages, as well as a link to go to our Spotify page where you can pay us $1 to help support this here show. And while you are there, what we would ask for you to do is rate us 5 stars in your app of choice, whether it be Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Spotify or whatever the hell it happens to be. Rate us 5 stars. It helps expose us to more people. And as long as we're talking about Spotify, we keep on saying it. If you don't mind, we would very much prefer that you switch wherever you're listening to this show right now over to Spotify to help grow our numbers over there, because that's apparently where all the podcasts are going now. So help us out. But that is going to be the end of this here show. We have one more episode in our Indiana Jones series, and then it's going to be a brand new month. July. It's already here, Betsy. The year is already halfway over.
I hate you.
What the fuck?
Stop telling me
what the hell is going on?
The obvious.
God damn it. All right. Thank you again for listening to us, and thank you, Betsy, for being my co-host today and always.
A pleasure, Trent.
This has been another episode of Never Seen It. My name is Trent.
My name's Betsy.
And we'll be back to you next time.
Bye.